Veseli nas, da ste z nami. Današnji dogodek, prvi od dveh, ki nas peljeta proti jubilejni 20. izvedbi konference o športnem marketingu in sponzorstvih v športu SPORTO. Letos 20. izvedba, torej, ki vračamo se v Portorož, kot najbrž že vsi veste. In tam bomo tudi v bolj, kako naj rečem, standardnem terminu, konec novembra, natančneje 21. in pa 22. novembra. Današnji dogodek, prvi izmed dveh, kot sem že povedal, in čemu bo namenjen, vsi seveda veste, e-športu, igričarstvu, gamingu, torej industriji, ki je res dodobra zaznamovala svet zabave, prostega časa, svet industrije, informatike in pa predvsem mlajših generacij. Zdaj, kako mi malce starejši gledamo na to, včerajšnje popoldne sem cel dan iskal po bajti staro igrico, ki sem jo dobil v drugem razredu osnovne šole in bil zelo popularen v šoli zaradi tega. Pa smo potem imeli računalnike, Commodore, prešvercan iz Avstrije, in tisti, ki ga je imel, je bil zelo popularen, kot je Monika rekla, vsi smo veseli potem pri tistem sošolcu, ki je imel dobre igrice. Tako da razumemo to, kako je, ko nekako človek ne bi šel ven in bi igral. Kaj pa šele zdaj, ko je v bistvu ta razcvet šel tako gor, ko je tehnologija tako dobra, da te resnično potegne v povsem drug svet. In seveda današnji dogodek je v sodelovanju z Game Gang šovom, spektaklom, ki se bo odprl čez 2 uri tu na Gospodarskem razstavišču. Gašper, kaj nervoza že? Malo je, ne? V redu. In pa preden se vse skupaj odpre, preden bo Gašper dokončno lahko malce zadihal, ne? Pa si poglejmo, kaj nas čaka tule naslednji 2 uri. Tole je današnji program, začeli bomo z zelo zanimivim predavanjem nagrajenega sponzorskega primera in vse tja do odmora za kavo bomo govorili v angleščini. Potem pa presedlamo na slovenščino in pa za konec še bomo naredili en krog po zakulisju Game Gang šova in pa se tudi malce podružili v VIP prostoru. Jaz mislim, da nas čaka res prijetno dopoldne. I'll switch to English now because our first guest comes from London, UK. His bio, short introduction even, is quite impressive. I know that you will speak about it yourself, just a little bit of from my side as well. Shaheen used to work for did a lot of work for FedEx, Santander, Subway, Samsung, Allianz, Toyota, Panasonic, UEFA Champions League, Arsenal and Formula One, and he is currently in the role of commercial director at Giant X, a leading European esports team. He is Shaheen Rasti.
Very much.
Shaheen, welcome to Slovenia. The stage is all yours.
Thank you. Wow, what an introduction. Delighted to be here. Welcome, everyone. Just want to say thank you as well to Gasper and Dragan for their hospitality since I arrived. Been first class. Unfortunately for Gasper, Chelsea beat Man United last night, and we watched that together, which was very satisfying for myself. Unfortunately, I can't speak Slovenian, so it will just be in English today. But my name is Shah. I'm commercial director for Giant X, as mentioned. Giant X is we like to call it global, but very much a European esports team. My background is actually very much in sports marketing, probably similar to people in this room. But I joined Giant X 2 years ago, and it's been a roller coaster, to say the least, but very happy to be talking with you today. And as the sort of title mentions, we're going to be talking about how esports has obviously gone through this massive boom and gone through huge growth in the last 10 years, I would say. But I would say, like, I guess most business cycles, it's probably coming out of that boom and going towards a slight decline in the growth. And we'll see how brands, agencies, and rights holders can stay commercially successful in this new period of this evolution of esports. Great. So today's agenda, just going to talk a bit about myself, just so you get familiar with, obviously, my background and my experience. We're then going to go into a bit about Giant X, and the reason why it's worth doing that is we just went through a merger with another Spanish team, actually, at the back end of last year. So it's been a bit of a transitional time for us in terms of consolidation, bringing two big teams together and trying to obviously grow. And I think consolidation is something you'll see more of in esports over the next few years. I guess maybe not everyone in the room is an expert on esports here today. I'm definitely not an expert, but I think it's worth just going through where we are in esports from a global perspective, from a European perspective, and kind of the trends that we're seeing, and some of the highlights we've seen, obviously, in recent time. We'll then go into the challenge or the challenges that the industry is facing at the moment, and they are serious challenges, and it's worth kind of going through them. Whether you are a regional brand or you are a European or global brand, it is going to be relevant in terms of how you navigate through esports. And then we'll finish on some solutions on how brands, rights holders, and also agencies can really be successful and remain successful, even though we're going through this sort of slightly more challenging period at the moment. And then we'll finish with any questions at the end. So a bit about me. Love sport, love football. As you can see here, the highs and lows of my career. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't, and you end up on the floor. But I've been able to travel and be very fortunate to travel through work and see the likes of the Champions League final in Madrid. And I love traveling, whether that is obviously for an event like this or just traveling in my own time. That's a real big passion of mine. And then this is some of the work that I've been fortunate enough to be part of. Certainly in my last job at Fuse, which is part of Omnicom Media Group, I worked on FedEx and Santander on their Champions League partnerships. Was very fortunate to work with the likes of Camavinga, Xabi Alonso on a huge content piece that we delivered. The Toyota image that you see here is the agreement we signed in the lead up to Rio 2016. It was a 10-year, $75 million agreement. It was the first of its kind, and very fortunate to be a part of that. And then other pieces of work, Subway, partnership with the NFL. They sponsored the NFL in the UK and Europe, and certainly have done a lot of rights holder consultancy with McLaren, Arsenal, Formula One, and as I said, UEFA. So been very, very lucky to work on the things that I have been a part of, both from a strategic, sales, and also sort of client servicing perspective. So a bit about Giant X. So I mentioned the merger. We were previously called XL, or I was certainly employed by XL, which was a British team, so a challenger brand from the north part of Europe. We then decided that we needed to grow. We wanted to go into more titles. We wanted to play on a more European and global stage. So at the back end of last year, we executed a merger. Clearly, it takes more than just a few days. It was sort of months and a significant amount of time in the works. We merged with Giants, who are probably the largest, or were the largest, Spanish team. They'd won a load of trophies, big legacy brand, almost 20 years old. So combining the two was really interesting. But the way that we positioned it was two worlds coming together to try and grow and take on the world. And our mission is very simple. Our new sort of brand principles and brand identity is around inspiring, uniting, and disrupting. And that goes to sort of all facets of gaming and esports, our day-to-day content, players, everything that we do has to align with these three principles. And we are a true European outfit now. We have our home in London, which you're all welcome to if you're visiting. Our performance facility, where our players are, in Berlin, and then we have obviously a Spanish office in Malaga now, which is amazing, state of the art. We have our Spanish team based there, and again, we're really proud of these facilities. This is just us in a very snapshot sort of headline image. We are very, very fortunate to have 24 million fans around the world. So that's across all our social channels. And we see around sort of 87 million monthly impressions, which that is a lot of hard work. It takes a huge amount of effort from our social team and our digital channels to continue to drive awareness, to drive reach and engagement. And the one thing that shocks people is that we have 34 social channels. So this is both in English and Spanish across all social channels: TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and obviously YouTube. So it's a significant effort, but it's something that our partners see a lot of value in. I think the big sort of notable point is that all our channels are very bespoke and tailored. So we'll have channels for League of Legends, we'll have channels for Valorant. We even have channels for different positions in League of Legends, which is how tailored we want to be, which is, again, really important for our partners. Those 63 championships are actually mainly from the Giants side, but now that we've merged, we can say we've won 63 championships. And look, for you guys, I guess what's relevant is we and other esports teams provide a really strong opportunity to reach a very difficult to engage but primed young audience. And you can see, obviously, the gender and age skew, which is expected. I'm sure this is nothing new. It is a very young Gen Z audience. But what does surprise people is the income. It is an affluent audience. So the majority of our audience is earning over £52,000. 18% are earning over £100,000, which to a lot of people is surprising. And then you can see, obviously, our geography. We are split across, I would say, majority Europe, but also North America as well, which is a big esports market. These are the titles and games that we compete in. So League of Legends, which has around 152 million active players. Valorant, as you can see, is a new game, but is still a significant size of 17 million players. And then we've got some variety titles as well, EAFC, which is formerly FIFA, and then fighting games as well. We compete in what we like to call almost the Champions League of esports for League of Legends and Valorant in the LEC and the VCT. And we also have our Game Changers team, which is a female league, a female Premier League, which actually was started a few years ago. And the intention is actually not for it to remain as a female league. The intention is that women start to compete with men in a few years' time, which I think is incredibly important for the industry. This is our roster, so our professional players, which you can see is very international. So we have a lot of actually players from this region, but all over the world, which allows brands from different territories to really drive value and get value from a partnership with us. And this is, I guess, a snapshot of our sort of total talent. We have around 43 talent, so that's pro players and creators, who have a total following around 18 million altogether. And you can see their significant stream hours on a sort of monthly basis. We're also one of the fastest growing teams in Europe and globally. You can probably have heard some of those teams up there, G2, Fnatic, but actually in the last year, we've grown the most, and I'll come on to why. Obviously, the merger helps, but we've also acquired businesses that have allowed us to extend our reach and our ability to grow as a business. And we're very lucky to work with some of the biggest brands in gaming and esports. Some of them you'll recognize, some of them you might not, but certainly we're very proud of our partner portfolio. And this doesn't have sound, unfortunately, but this is just a hype reel of some of the work that we've done over the last year. Some of it is obviously from previously Excel side and Giant side, but it just gives you, I think, an understanding of the variety of content that we produce, both digitally, physically, for internal engagement. We have the ability to do a lot of things, and I think esports generally is a very flexible and agile industry, unlike sort of traditional sports. So, esports as a whole, it's worth just kind of going into where we're at from a global perspective. So this is just a reminder of the ecosystem. Hopefully people are aware of sort of how extensive and varied it is, but it really comes down to first fandom or fans and the community. Everything that we do is community first. So whether that's when they're playing or socializing or watching, everything is about the fans, which is, I guess, for most sports and most entertainment platforms is going to be the case. You have different platforms where you actually play the games, which we'll see obviously around today, whether that's PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, even Apple, Windows, etc. You have different teams like us, G2, Fnatic, and different game titles which we've gone through, so League of Legends, Fortnite, Call of Duty, FIFA, etc. And that's all harnessed by events, so you may have events like Game Gang Show, you may have events like League of Legends World Championships. There's a lot to sort of be a part of and to, as a brand, to get involved with. There's different talent, so that's content creators who stream and play games to their audience, or there's pro players who compete professionally. And then there's streaming platforms like Kick, Twitch, YouTube, that amplify the competitive scene. And also, obviously, social plays a huge part in engaging that audience, so whether that's Twitter, Discord, or Instagram. Gaming and esports is now at the heart of sport and entertainment and sport and entertainment fandom. You can see here where esports sort of ranks in global sports in terms of number of fans, which is incredibly impressive given the growth and where it's come from. And obviously gaming is now, really challenging football globally as a pastime. And it is really important to put this into perspective. A lot of people will say, well, gaming and esports is really niche. Well, it's not. It's now very much in the mainstream, and I think that brands need to feel more confident about that. And the market size is just increasing. So currently it's valued at $1.7 billion US. It's projected to grow to around 2.06 billion in this year, and around 9.2 in 2032. So this is a really healthy growth, but we'll come on to why that growth could be impacted by the next sort of, 4 to 6 years. And some major milestones were hit in 2023. So 47 million people tuned in for the League of Legends World Finals in 2023 in Korea. That is staggering. That's a staggering amount of people. That was peak viewership on Twitch. And that, at times, that event has been more than the Super Bowl. And we always go back to that. And I think that kind of puts it into perspective. I'm going to play a video of the Blast Paris Major, which was last year. Blast is a CSGO tournament, so it's one of the biggest esports. It's also, I would say, CSGO is the biggest for fan attendance at big stadiums. And if you want to go and experience esports, I would suggest going to a CS tournament.
Secures it, a triple kill out of Monsieur Elbow, and now we've never had a trumpet. Outstanding.
quiet practice tape.
That sort of just gives you an idea of the scale. That was 50,000 people in that stadium making that noise, and the French are very passionate. But I love that video because it just shows you it is exactly like sport. You see that kind of passion and fandom when you go and play football. We go watch football. Maybe not at Chelsea, but it's amazing to see. I think this is a really interesting graph. So esports, I think for brands and agencies in this room, esports very much is the gateway to Gen Z and millennials moving forward. We're not saying that sport isn't, but if you look at this graph, and this is from GWI, this is the interests of 16 to 34-year-olds in Europe. So the index line is just the general population baseline. So you can see that esports index is 1.6 higher than the baseline, and that is more than any other sort of major sport. So you can start to understand why more and more brands are starting to invest into this space. And this is also a group that can have as a brand, you can have a real impact on. So these are attitudes towards brand involvement in esports from a European and US perspective. You can see majority of these regions are very positive towards sponsors and brands that come into this space. So it shows you that there's a real appreciation for what partners are doing and the impact that partners have on teams, which I'll come on to. But this should be very reassuring, I think, for brands wanting to enter this space. And the partners and just the general quality of content that we're seeing has really improved and enhanced over the last sort of 5 to 10 years. These are some of the brands that we're seeing come in: Gucci, Uber Eats, Louis Vuitton, Sky. And this is the type of content that we're starting to see from the likes of Riot, who are obviously the biggest publisher in esports.
To the fallen, leave me to be with the broken one last time before I go. Hold the last burning ember, never surrender, rise up to the core for the glory.
I won't play all 4 minutes of it, but you can get an appreciation of the sort of cinematic quality that's now been created in esports and gaming. That was to promote the new League of Legends season. And this video is a really important one. So we mentioned that we have a Game Changers team, which is an all-female roster for Valorant. And this is a huge growth area for this space. So more and more women are starting to compete in esports, to play games. So, you know, it's fundamental that we build this ecosystem, and we're really committed to that, actually. And this is a video to promote the new season of Game Changers.
You think you know who we are.
Think again. There's a reason it's called Game Changers.
Incredible stuff from Mimi. And a fourth looking for
We play wild.
Somos más. Hablamos más alto. Until
we can't be ignored. until everything else looks boring.
Good. If anything.
何もかもが変わるまで
And it's probably worth touching upon probably some news that you've all seen, and I guess what the future is of the esports industry and where we might get to. I think it's clearly going to be influenced a lot by the wealth and the power of the Middle East. So on the left, you see a city that's being built that is dedicated to gaming and esports in Saudi Arabia. It's called Qiddiya. I've seen the trailer for what the world will look like, and it is a world, which is absolutely insane. And the amount of money that they're pumping into this space is something that you have to sort of take stock of and appreciate. Obviously, there was the ESL Faceit Group merger and acquisition. That's now the largest esports company in the world, and that's all funded by the PIF. Which is the Saudi sovereign fund, and then the Esports World Cup with the largest prize pool, around $40 million in Riyadh, which is happening in summer of this year. So whatever you think of Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, it is very clear that they're going to play a very dominant role in esports for years to come. So what's the challenge that we currently face? So we've kind of spoken about where the growth has been and how much growth there has been over the years. But I would say we're starting to come into the post-boom era of esports. There is less investment from a capital perspective, from a VC perspective going in. There's also a slight decline in, for example, the growth of the audience. So we're kind of going into a contraction phase, which is a very normal part of a business cycle. So it's interesting to see how we can manage that and move out of that as quickly as possible. This sort of decline has obviously led to a number of liquidations, so teams or companies going out of business, which is not something you ever want to see, but it's just normal. It's part of business. You see it in crypto. You see it in other sort of high growth areas. So it is just part of the natural cycle. The image on the top left is Posnetek, who are probably one of the biggest teams in the world. They currently have 2 sponsors from having 12 in the last 2 years, which is, for us as a competitor, sometimes we're like, that's great because we're winning, but also it's not great because it's a sign of where the industry maybe is at the moment. Obviously, FaZe Clan, big US team, went onto the stock market. It's now come back. It's been privatized because of poor performance in investment. And you've seen a lot of brands come in for 1 year and then leave. And we'll come on to why that's very destructive for the industry. This is a really great quote from Medium magazine. Esports lacks the income from streams that have sustained traditional sports. So think big stadiums, tickets, broadcast revenue. So despite filling stadiums, which esports does, ticket prices remain lower than those of football, soccer, basketball. Esports fans and enthusiasts devoted remarkably less on digital and merchandise products. A lot of people think that esports teams sells a lot of merchandise. We don't. That's a myth. And this has created a disparity in earnings, with each esports fan contributing only $5 annually on average, which is so small in comparison to mainstream sport. So there's a real issue there that needs to be addressed. But that is also an opportunity, I think, for teams and for rights holders and for brands. Outside of those sort of macro, large economic challenges, esports must mature commercially. So what does that mean? For rights holders, it's, I guess, an over-reliance on sponsorship. I'm very much open to admitting that 80% of our revenue as a organization comes from sponsorship. So a lot of pressure on me, but it's also really an opportunity for us, and we need to diversify. There's also a real lack of first-party data. So not the data that you share on social media platforms, but the data, for example, that you give when you're at an event and you give your email and your personal details. Esports teams have a real low level of first-party/owned data, which I'll come on to why that is so important. And then the third is sort of a misuse of talent. So when I mean talent, I mean pro players or creators. A lot of money is spent on talent, which becomes a big overhead for teams, which makes them financially, obviously, at risk. For brand partners, and I guess agencies as well, as I mentioned, there's this real in and out approach to investment. So a brand will come in, like Coca-Cola, for 1 year and then leave. And that's very disruptive for a team's income and cash flow, but it's also very disruptive and destructive for the brand. If fans see a brand like Coca-Cola come in for 1 year and then leave, their perception is that they don't really care about the industry, or they're not committed to the industry. And that's something that needs to change. There's also a lack of a distinct role or positioning for brands, and that is on the brands and agencies to figure out. It's making sure that you can play a unique part in the experience for fans, rather than just being a branding exercise. And I think there's a general lack of agency experience in gaming and esports, and that's something that will grow over time, but that's also impacting, I think, the quality of work that's being produced. So what are some solutions, I guess, for moving into a time where we can be more commercially successful and obviously get through this period? So you might not be able to read this all, but the main headlines are you need to diversify commercial assets. So what do I mean by that? So most esports teams will have, and this is for rights holders specifically, most rights holders will have huge digital ecosystems, so large social followings, channels that they can draw upon. But at the moment, they're being used entirely for marketing or partners. And what you can do is actually package up those digital rights and create shorter-term, maybe media partnerships. So, 1 month, 2 months, and actually sell into media agencies, opposed to just selling into brands and sponsorship agencies. So it's diversifying the income that you can get from brands. Acquisition of new rights and assets. So this is slightly crude, but obviously as we see more businesses going out of business, there is an opportunity to acquire these distressed assets, which we did as well last year. So if you see that there is an opportunity to grow through acquisition, that is something that is going to be available because of the nature of where we are at in the industry. This is one that isn't always possible, but there is obviously a lack of expertise in this space from an agency perspective. So if you are an esports team and you have huge expertise in this area and have access to production, content, creative, why not set up your own gaming agency? That gives you extra income, gives you expertise, it increases your scope. The next is increasing first-party data ownership. So I mentioned this. The reason why this is so important is increasing data capture through surveys, events, or competitions really provides a deeper understanding of your audience. And this can't be done via social channels. You cannot get a really in-depth understanding of who your audience is on social. It can also allow insight on purchase behavior, engagement, consumer habits, and their spend generally. That allows you to potentially monetize through merchandising, fan apps, tokens, tickets, and a lot more. The other suggestion is, or solution, is starting to monetize talent, so pro players or creators. If you have pro players and creators, that is a huge talent pool that a lot of brands will be interested in. So to reduce costs incurred by hiring these creators and to make that money back, you could, again, package this talent into an offering and almost provide like an influencer agency or influencer roster that you can sell into brands or even for media roles. And also, one solution or one suggestion is invest into smaller creators, micro-influencers. You know, if you start an incubator program where you bring on smaller creators and grow them and help them grow through your own resource, that's only going to help you in the long run. It will build commitment, it will be organic growth, and you'll obviously be able to capitalize on their growth as they get bigger. And then lastly, for brands and agencies, you know, in my opinion, it's really important to create a long-term strategy, whether that's if you're going into gaming, if you're building a world in Fortnite, or if you want to go into sponsorship of an esports team. Gaming and esports isn't going anywhere, so it's worth having a long-term strategy and try and stick to it. Sponsorship generally only sees optimal value after 3 years. So to do 1 year and then leave is to be honest, quite pointless. So it's important to have that perspective and to stick to it. Build a unique purpose for the brand. So it's really important to carve out a distinct positioning. So whether that's, I want to, you know, be a part of, you know, racial diversity in esports or women or whatever that is, if that positioning is aligned to your overall brand identity and brand strategy, then do that. And be willing to go out of your comfort zone. I spoke to Dragan yesterday, and he gave me a really great example of where a brand did go out of their comfort zone, and it worked incredibly well. And it is really important that you come into this world rather than trying to force your brand onto gamers and esports fans. And then the last is hire experts. So no one is going to be an expert from day one, but if you are a brand or indeed an agency and you're going into a sponsorship or you're going into this space, it's fundamental to have at least 1 or 2 people that know what they're talking about, that can help you through that initial education process. And for agencies, that means hiring people that are going to help you, because ultimately that's really going to build trust with clients and lead to more business for you as an agency. And lastly, this is just an example of where we've tried to do this as an organization. We acquired a business to grow our social channels. We acquired a business called HitCap, which we turned into our League of Legends fan channel, which has, that's just a TikTok channel, but we have over 1.2 million followers just on League of Legends channels. It's the largest education channel, so it helps people get better at the game. And you can see, obviously, how popular that is. We've purely worked like an agency. We've helped brands like Universal for their film Five Nights at Freddy's. We just worked as a creative agency. We didn't involve GX. We didn't involve Giant X. But we created this campaign for them using influencers that we've worked with. We created that agency called XL Studio. And we've used events to obviously activate, but to increase our first-party data, as the aim for us is to create a fan app next year. And then the last one, and the one that I'm most proud of, is the work we've done with EE, which is a telecoms company. And their positioning was all about women in esports, women in gaming. How can we help opportunity and access for women? And we created a program called the Power Up Program that is designed as the first of its kind in the UK, where we created a talent development program for aspiring female gamers and esports fans to have a career in esports and gaming.
Challenges continue for women gamers.
Back to the kitchen.
We receive a lot of hate.
Things like sexual violence.
Consent, you can hold your weapon any day.
I generally try to hide the fact that I'm a woman. I really just want to see where I can go.
EE joins forces with Giant X. Join me, GK Barry, in this series as I meet 6 women players who will go on a journey to overcome industry challenges in gaming.
I'm hoping to get better.
Become the best. It felt like once in a lifetime opportunity.
And that's it. Thank you for your time. And any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Shah.
Yeah, sure.
We are going to invite Gaspar Kovac now to join us. Gaspar is my colleague at Sport Media Focus. He is esports specialist, with Gang Gang Show being his project. So welcome, Gaspar. Thanks, Shah, again. Shah, you're warmed up already, so I'm going to ask you, how does the day of commercial director at esports team look like? Of course, with the numbers that you showed us, it's clear that you have a lot of work, but still, how does it different than if you were in a traditional sport?
It's busy. It's definitely busy. Typically, my role is to obviously oversee a few commercial income streams, so that's partnerships, but that's also venue hire. We use our venues to hire out for space to drive revenue. But mainly it will be overseeing and working with our senior point of contacts at those partners. I definitely take on a more strategic role. So if a partnership has just been signed or we're going into a new year with a partner, we'll look to create that strategy together. And that will be where I come in and help the team to evolve that. There's a lot of troubleshooting. So there are generally a lot of problems that happen, a lot of challenges. So my job is very much to help our team to be successful and to help them with any challenges that they might be having on a day-to-day. But also, I guess my main role is to think broader than the day-to-day. It's to think about how can we find new ways to be commercially successful and to make money, but also to retain the revenue that we have. So I'll be thinking about renewals with partners. I'll be thinking about, how can we upsell a partner. So it's very varied, which is why I love the job. It gives me a lot of opportunity to do different things. Talent also sits under commercial, so it will mean making sure that our talent is happy, that they're growing their channels. So yeah, it's very varied, and I'm sure it's the same in sports as well. Just maybe slightly more. Slightly more things to think about.
Gaspar, we are many times talking, one thing is global industry and another is a local industry. But still, when it comes to esports, is it the same? I don't think it's the same thing, right? The gap is not as big, right? Because it happens on the platforms that we all use. But still, if you look at our esports industry, competitive gaming in Slovenia, how does it look like here?
Yeah, first of all, Tilen, thank you for introducing me earlier. Making fun of me for our loss yesterday already. But yeah, let's go back to the question. Slovenia in esports here in our country or even locally has been it's been here for a while. There have been many local events, but they've been, more sticking to the community, not facing outward so much, but it has been very strong. Those local events that have been happening, like Epicenter, I think for like 10 years now, has been very strong. It's a little bit different event to this one, but it's what is very interesting is when we had this promo event in one of the shopping centers. When we promoted our event, getting closer to the mass audience and all that, one of the parents came to me and then he just asks, hey, my kid loves to play games. Is there a club or a society or something that I can, that he can join and train and becomes, a pro player or something? So that gives us kind of a perception of where is it going, where this is going. It's like, I remember when I was a kid and father would ask me, what do you want to train? Where you want to ski, you want to play handball, because I'm from the city I come from, handball is popular there. And, that's the situation right now. So parents are asking, hey, is it okay for you to play? Yes, it's still not as common, but it's starting to see this, that esport is evolving in our country as well. So, it was like, wow. parent just came to me and asked me where he can enlist his kid to start playing professionally. Just to give you a perspective where we are with esports in Slovenia.
Shah, you answered a lot of my questions already with your presentation, but still I made some notes. So one of the things that you said to Dragan, and then we had it on our Sporto webpage, is that gaming isn't going anywhere. That was highlighted. So what would you say is the biggest value for brands? So you said that, and I like that very much. I think it's for sponsors everywhere, but still, that you have to be patient. That 3 years is a minimum. But what would you say about gaming and esports and sponsorships?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the value is in. It really depends on the objectives of the brand. So if for example, a brand wants to drive awareness to young people of the brand, there is very few places that are better than gaming and esports because of where the interest level is. It's not just, I saw, I put up that figure of 3 billion gamers or gaming fans in the world. I mean, that isn't just a number. This is an indication of where the interest is, and you'll see today at the Game Gang show, young people who want to engage with their passion point, and that's why you see so many amazing brands here from a local, regional, or even a global perspective. This is where the interest is for young people, and for a lot of businesses and brands, it is about staying relevant to that community. Otherwise, they run the risk of obviously being forgotten about, and that's just from a very simple perspective. I think the other thing that's worth sort of noting is it's a really efficient investment at the moment. Despite its scale and engagement, it's not nearly as expensive as for example, investing into football or investing into even tennis or golf. Despite the fact that it's starting to overtake those sports. So I would say if you were to invest now, there is a great value there for a brand, just purely from a financial perspective. I would say all our sponsors probably underpay what they should, and that's my job to make sure that they don't. But clearly, you go where the market goes. So I think just from that perspective, it's a great opportunity. I'd also go back to that point, which is it isn't going anywhere. I mean, that's just a fact. That's not a hot take from me. It's going to only grow and develop and evolve. So why would you invest into 1 year and then sort of leave? I think the battle will be whether you want to go into more sort of mainstream gaming. So you're seeing a lot of brands create their own worlds in Fortnite and Roblox. But there's still a huge amount of value in investing into esports. It's a very passionate, very informed audience. It's also a professional scene. It's where the best of the best compete. So for your brand to be associated to that is a very special thing. And there have been some great case studies of brands that have become so popular. And there's an example with DHL. DHL are a sponsor of the CSGO league, the major CSGO league, to the point where fans now chant DHL in the stadium every single time when their activation comes up. They chant DHL. I mean, that is probably for a brand
what you want, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the end goal, right? So we don't have big broadcasters, and so fans know how much sponsorship plays a role in funding the entire industry. So they're very appreciative of brands, and you saw it in that figure, in that graph that I put up.
Before asking Gasper about gamers in the region, I just have one extra question for you, because this is what I noticed. The graph that you showed was impressive with Generation Z and Millennials. I wonder, I'm sure you did the research. We are always talking about lack of concentration, so concentration spam that is missing with those younger audiences when it comes to traditional sports. Is it the same story with esports?
Concentration in terms of like the attentions, like
Yeah,
getting their
attention span.
Yeah. So I think where you're right, it's very difficult to get the attention of young people. But that's, I guess, why gaming is a great vehicle for that. I'd say the advantage that gaming and esports has over traditional sport is it's always on. So people stream on Twitch at night. People are on Discord, which is essentially like a messenger service or like WhatsApp, essentially on a slightly more advanced platform. So they're constantly engaging. They're constantly having dialogue with each other. So it's a real community. So that in itself is why there is a higher level of engagement, because it's always on. Now that creates problems as well around health, around mental health. Are you getting out of the house enough? But gaming is, there's no, I wouldn't say there was no off season. It's constant. You play online. If you have a console, if you have a PC, it's very accessible, opposed to having to go out, buy golf clubs, go to a golf club, pay membership fee. You know, League of Legends and Valorant is free to play. And again, so that, and Twitch is free to stream. Now again, there's a flip side to that, because now we get no broadcast revenue because it's all free on Twitch. But that is the main reason why it holds their attention, is because it's accessible through digital, and they're a digital-first audience. It's always on, and it's a place where they feel they can be themselves, whether that's through a digital identity or this community of friends that they've built. So that's, I think, or hopefully that answers your question, but those are the reasons, I think.
Thanks, Gaspar. So gamers in the region, we were talking about when we were preparing for this, that there are similarities between sports and esports here as well with the players. That what have you figured out?
Yes, so we have to look at the region where we live in, right? We have a lot of potential. You know, as we spoke about this similarities between traditional sport and esports. Also in esports, we have a lot of talent, a lot of potential that when they get the opportunity, they go out. So which has a positive effect on the region, because it gives the inspiration for for the community, for them. Okay, I want to get something better, and they try. But on the other hand, the best talents, they leave. So they live out of the ecosystem in the region, which means that the kind of the leagues and the competitions here are not going to be on the highest level. So what this then similarities with the sports, we all have our top players, all football players, all playing in the foreign leagues. Same as in Croatia, Serbia. So all ex-Yugoslavian countries, everything's the same. So talent, we have a lot of talent, but they, as a first opportunity comes for them to get, opportunity to be better, to progress faster, to, have that safety in terms of social safety. They will grab that chance and they will go outside. So there are those similarities that have, in one way, a positive impact, in terms of inspiration, showing them, okay, we come from a region, let's say, it's not on the level of Western Europe, for example. We are doing okay, but still, there are some countries as well that people want to get something more, and maybe they give these pro players that are leaving these countries, give the inspiration for the rest of the country to prosper, to be better every day, and for esports as well. So there are positive effects also of this. So those are the kind of similarities between sports and esports here in the region.
It's 1 hour away before Game Gang show opens up. I know that you're quite busy, and you're but I'd really like to seize this opportunity, you being on stage, to ask you 2 more questions. So this event, as being leading gaming event in the country, is partnering with many different commercial brands. We'll hear more from Big Bang and MasterCard later on. But can you share some insights how other partner brands are approaching to activations?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. I spoke with Shah the other day, and also he's mentioned a couple of times today that everything is free online, right? And all this community, every audience here, also in Slovenia, before this, didn't have that much opportunity to get to experience what they see online, right? So they see all this, what's happening on the Twitch, on everything on global scales. And with all these brands, that are global brands, but also present here. So for example, as you mentioned, Heineken and Pringles try to bring that global experience here on local. So like our community gets the opportunity to relive something in physical life instead of just watching it online all the time. So what we're trying to do actually with them is bring that global story here local, but tailor it, because we know that even though there's a global initiative, each market or each country has its own specifics in terms of community, right? So you have to tailor it a little bit to the market here. So yeah, that's basically the main approach here. Of course, there are a couple of brands as well that are not maybe known to be in the space, are more local brands. With them, it's very tailored to them as well. So what's actually your goal? So when Shah mentioned earlier, what's your strategy, what you're trying to achieve, let's find those similarities that you have, and that's gonna suit this community, this younger audience. And because, as said, this audience is very receptive to brands, very supportive to them if they show support. So if the brand enters here and gives value first, before asking something in return, then it has a great chance of succeeding. Otherwise, if you're just here for the sake of communicating, not giving anything, not giving them experience that's relevant for them, it's in their interests, forget it.
Yeah, I just add on that. It's a really important point. We mentioned like the value exchange, that you have a responsibility as a brand. We had a partner not so long ago. I won't name names, but they were constantly trying to force sort of advertorial, quite sales-type content to our audience, very product-focused. So it'll be a group of influencers, and suddenly they'll mention, oh, have you tried XXX? And the amount of abuse that we got on comments, to the point we had to turn comments off, was crazy. And we warned them. We said, look, fans don't want to be forced your product. Integrate it naturally at first. Drive awareness of this product. And it's a big brand as well. It was a big brand. And they got killed for it. And we were like, they're not a partner anymore. But we had to completely adapt episodes 2 and 3 because there was no value exchange. What was the value to that fan? They don't want to just be given an 8-minute advert. They want to enjoy. They want escapism. They want to just have fun with that piece of content. So it's exactly to Gaspar's point.
Gaspar, another thing. So next step is then that maybe we say, okay, but please play responsibly. That's another step. So what is the voice? What is gaining? This is also, of course, gaining importance and voice. So what's the situation with those topics here in Slovenia?
So yeah, we know that this generation is going to be our future, right? So we have to take care of it, and it's very important for us to educate all. Play responsibly, if I can say it like this, or enjoy, responsibly. Be aware, sustainable, having this kind of sustainable ecosystem, not in terms of, environment, but, also psychologically, physically, mental state of every participant audience here. This is going to be very important also for the future for them, because there's online, there's a lot of stuff happening and you cannot control everything. So what we can do is actually, give the messages out, support them, be there, support their interest of you playing, but still, try to teach them. You're not going to do anything if you're going to be forcing them, don't play, right? You're only going to make them, play even more, right? Building that resilience to those messages. But if you give supportive messages, look, okay, you play, but make sure that you play responsibly. it's gonna go a long way, right? And it's gonna help them sustain the future. For the audience right now, that's like, what, 15 years, 16, 20 years. This is gonna help us, sustain us in the future, And right now, this is developing also in Slovenia, right? More in psychological and mental state than sort of, forcing them not to play or stuff. Just like, hey, be aware, if there are a lot of, especially after this period of COVID, there's been, quite a lot of mental issues and like that. So with this audience, there are a couple of brands already, pushing for, be aware what's happening. Don't be afraid to reach out, and always take a break. You need a break. You cannot be switched on 24/7, even though internet is available 24/7, right? So in Slovenia, steps are being made, and I'm really grateful for those brands of deciding for this, and we want to help them, giving this platform for them to expand that messages.
Kasper, you're a leader here, so we'll take a break. No?
Thank you.
Thank you guys for this. Še sporočilo vsem, malce smo pozni, Dragan mi pušča sporočila. Skočite po kavo, naredite korak, dva, pa se vrnemo čez 5 minut. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Ready to shine, brighter than all of the lights. 'Cause when it's game time, this is my time. This is my time. I'm on the rise. Can't hold me down. I'm too fly. This is my time. Ready to shine, brighter than all of the lights. 'Cause when it's game time, this is my time.
I'm feeling tragic like I'm Mark
look at my China girl. I stumble into town just like a sacred cow. Visions of swastikas in my head, plans for everyone. It's in the white of my eyes. My little China girl, you shouldn't mess with me. I ruin everything you are. You know, I give you television, I give you eyes of blue, I give you a man who wants to rule the world. And when I get excited, my little China girl says, oh baby, just you shut your mouth. She said, she said, she said, she says, little China girl, my little China girl.
Got your mother in a whirl. She's not sure if you're a boy or a girl. Hey babe, your hair's alright. Hey babe, let's go out tonight. You like me and I like it all. We like dancing and we look divine. You love bands when they play it hard. You want more and you want it first. They put you down, they say I'm wrong. You take a thing, put them on. Rebel, rebel, you turn your dress. Rebel, rebel, your face is a mess. Rebel, rebel, how could they know? Hot tramp, I love you so.
In smo nazaj.
You like me and I like it all.
Zdaj je potreboval kakšen zvočni efekt, kakšen zvonček ali kaj takega. V glavnem smo nazaj. Kar pridite s kavo, se usedite mirno ali pa vzamite vodo, karkoli že. Bomo nadaljevali, malce smo v zamudi, ljudem se mudi na kosilo, kaj ne, Aleš? Ok, nadaljujemo. Torej, kaj morajo vedeti blagovne znamke ob vstopu na področje e-športa in igričarstva? Kar pa vabim na oder k meni, direktorja upravljanja potencijala pri Big Bangu, Matjaža Butaro, in pa direktorja marketinga Mastercard Slovenija Aleša Petejana. Mi smo že imeli 2 pogovora pred tem današnjim, tako da smo se kar dobro spoznali, razgovorili predvsem o športu in vsem. Ampak malce, pa čeprav smo starejši, malce razumemo vse to, ne? Tisti, ki je imel računalnik, kot sem dejal na začetku doma, je bil kar popularen med sošolci, smo veseli v njegovi sobi in igrali igrice. Torej ni to prišlo iz danes na jutri, vemo, kako je to, ne?
Lepo zdrav. Ja, Commodore je bil en super računalnik, pa nastavljanje glave pri kasetah, pa to so lepi spomini.
Nihče se ni smel dotakniti mize, ne, takrat, ne? Da je prijela igrica, se spomnite tega?
Meter stran.
Tako. Nekako podnaslov je Dragan določil tegale našega pogovora. Pogovor na temo izkušenj blagovnih znamk z gaming skupnostjo pri nas ter marketinških priložnosti, izzivov in potencijala. Matjaž, kaj zdaj to pomeni za takole prosto? Čez dobro uro se odprejo vrata za obiskovalce drugega Game Gang šova, kjer je Big Bang v vlogi soorganizatorja. Zakaj ste se sploh pri Big Bangu odločili za področje gaminga?
Prvo, lepo zdrav, se slišimo, ne? Drugače od na glas govorim. Lepo zdrav vsem, hvala za povabilo. Game Gang smo leta 2019 v bistvu ustanovili v Big Bangu kot community gaming. Tega ne bi mogli narediti, če ne bi bilo Aleša pa Mastercarda, ki smo se 2 norca najdla, ki smo rekli, ajde, skočimo v to. Zakaj smo to naredili? Jaz sem takrat na mail dobil, po moje, vsak dan neko povpraševanje. Ej, nas je 200, a bi podprl ta turnir. In to je bilo Celje, Murska, Maribor, Ljubljana, Koper, ne? In zdaj, ne, da vse te mikrokomunitije podpiraš, je pač nimaš nekega velikega učinka. Takrat sem jaz dejansko mislil, da poznam gaming, zaradi tega, ker sem imel doma PlayStation. Valjda, ne, jaz sem gamer, uno FIFA, NBA, včasih in jaz to vem, kako bom jaz to delal, ne. Po je bil pa reality check, ne, jaz sem enega mulca, ki je bil glih takrat, koliko 2019, da zdaj 14, se pravi, glih v ta pravih začetnih gamerskih letih, ne, in on meni v zaključku sezone Fortnite-a reče, ej, foter, jaz se pa danes dobim s frendi, ne, bomo gledali zaključek, imamo sezone za Fortnite, ne. Pa jaz nemo, the best, kaj rabite, kokice vam nabavim, prišel bom čips kupiti in jaz še danes se spomnim unga njegovega pogleda. Oči, to se v virtual roomu dobimo. Jaz sem takrat sebi rekel, jaz nimam pojma v gamingu. Najdu sem Samota, tukaj epicenter in sem rekel, fantje, vi malo več veste o tem gamingu, ne, a bi vi prevzeli celotno upravljanje communityja, damo vam samo eno pravilo in to je to, da morate biti spoštljivi. Se pravi, editorsko gledano, ne bomo preverjali člankov, ne bomo preverjali objav, turnirje, ki jih delite tako, kot jih znate. In je samo rekel, ok, dajmo probati, ne. Po je bil COVID, po je bil lani prvi Game Gang show, 7 Jurija Folka, klele danes gor, če greste pa pogledati, pa vidite kakšen stage, pa kaj vse je ratali iz tega. Se pravi, po zaslugi Big Banga pa Mastercarda imamo neko platformo, ki v Sloveniji gamerjem omogoča večji visibility, ki omogoča v bistvu, da oni na nekem svojem področju, ki jim je blizu, lahko tudi doživijo neke svoje ambicije, kar se mi zdi pa izredno pomembno. In mi smo tukaj kot enabler.
Zanimivo mi je bilo, ko sem prebral en tvoj intervju, ko si začel pri Big Bangu, se mi je zdel zelo suveren, da veš, zakaj se gre, 3 mesece po prihodu.
Ne, nisem vedel nič.
Ok.
Nisem vedel prav nič. Reality check.
Aleš, leta 2018 je Mastercard postal prvi globalni sponzor najbolj razširjene igre League of Legends. Tudi spodbujate in podpirate punce v gamingu, to je vse na globalnem nivoju, kako pa je v Sloveniji?
zgodbo Slovenije smo lepo slišali. Tako da to je naša največja ali pa edina aktivnost, če tako rečemo, lokalno, s tem, da tudi omenjene aktivnosti iz globalnega nivoja so na voljo v Sloveniji. Tako da v bistvu tudi sledimo neki celi zgodbi Mastercard branda, ki pač omogoča neke neprecenljive izkušnje v gamingu na nek drugačen način seveda. Temu smo se, kot je Matjaž rekel, mogli prilagoditi v Sloveniji, globalno posod. Izhaja pa seveda vse to iz nekega velikega potenciala tega communityja, ki je globalen. Po nekih številkah je 3 milijarde ljudi na svetu v gamingu, lažja beseda kot v slovenščini. Od tega je tudi nek velik posel nastal v Evropi, mislim, da lani 33 milijard, globalno 184 milijard. Če to drugače povemo, vsi vemo, da sta filmska industrija, glasbena industrija močni, te dve industriji skupaj nimata revenue oziroma prihodkov gaming industrije danes. Se pravi, je en zelo, zelo velik potencial tukaj in v bistvu po eni strani naš brand paše sem noter za svojim DNK-jem, na drugi strani seveda tudi poslovna priložnost velika. Bilo je vprašanje o Gaming Academy. Kot sem rekel, pač DNK brenda kot takšen paše, del tega brenda je tudi omogočanje enakih priložnosti za vse. V gamingu, če pogledamo od teh 3 milijard ljudi, ki igrajo, polovica je približno žensk. Od tega samo 5% ljudi, ki delajo v gamingu, je žensk, pa 1% žensk je profesionalk v gamingu. In pač mi želimo globalno ženskam pomagati, da postanejo equal moškim tudi v gamingu in zato je ta platforma, ki je globalna in tudi slovenske predstavnice lahko sodelujejo, nastala.
Besede priceless, ne? Potem, ko je Mastercard uspel res odlično to besedo pravzaprav povleči nase, ne? Kako je to v e-športu upleteno? Neprecenljivo?
Na eni strani smo rekli, DNK brenda so neke neprecenljive izkušnje, priceless je v bistvu neka beseda, ki vse to pomeni. Naprej imamo platformo, globalno platformo priceless.com, kjer so vse te izkušnje na voljo. Se pravi, mi poskušamo pač vse aktivnosti, ki jih delamo, ne glede na to ali gaming ali katerakoli druga industrija, pač najti te izkušnje, ki jih druge ne moreš dobiti. Včasih smo temu rekli, da pač kar ne more denar kupiti, danes se pač to prilagaja v te izkušnje, ki jih lahko dobiš na priceless.com in so na voljo tudi v gamingu, recimo od meet and greetov, učenja z nekimi zvezdami, odhod na finale League of Legends, kjerkoli po svetu je. Tako da, bom rekel, sinhrono paše skupaj. Smo pa šli seveda še korak dlje, razvijati se metaverse, si iščemo neke priložnosti tudi tam, tako da smo ta v bistvu priceless prelevili tudi v bistvu neke zgodbe v metaverzu. Ne vem, za eno banko recimo imamo bančno poslovalnico v metaverzu in podobno.
Matjaž, ta povezava pravzaprav je kar naravna, ne? Big Bang in računalništvo igrice, ne? Oprema in igre, kako velik trg je v Sloveniji za vse to?
Zdaj, mi delimo v bistvu, recimo strictly gaming, ne? Delimo na igre, pa dodatke, potem na konzole, pa na gaming računalnike, ne. Jaz bi tukaj ocenil tam nekje 30 milijonov evrov recimo prodaje same opreme, a ne. Da je na trgu, mi tukaj večino poberemo. Tako da trg sigurno je zanimiv, je pa tudi res, da moraš biti potrpežljiv, ker to ne raste toliko, kar mogoče v medijih ljudje prebirajo, ne, zaradi tega, ker tiste številke ogromne rasti prihajajo iz Azije. Evropa že nekaj časa, kako bi rekel, stagnira, ampak na malo v pozitivo. Ni bilo tega odskoka, kakor je bilo drugje. Kar imamo pa mi predvsem v regiji prednost je pa to, da je bilo pa toliko podhranjen vse skupaj. Se pravi, take stvari, kakor je, ne vem, gang community pa show je bil narejen z nekim dolgotrajnim ciljem dviganja zavedanja o samem, kako bi rekel, nekem novem načinu življenja, ki mogoče komu ni poznan. Jaz se pa ne bi tukaj samo omejil na prodajo igrc, opreme pa ne vem, računalnikov. Mi moramo vedeti, da v bistvu gaming ciljna skupina je zelo specifična. Ciljna skupina, ki je tudi izredno velika. Recimo evo tamle Anže, Žiga, v ozadju Skorp, Vortex, ne, sorry, še en fant, sorry, prej sem te spoznal. Zdaj tako, ne, gamerji, dragi moji, ne, koliko vas oglasi na TV-ju zadanejo? A ful gledate, pa vas, ne vem, dobite, pa na radiju, pa to, verjetno ne toliko, ne? Ej, kaj pa če pridem na Discord ali pa Twitch, a te bom lažje dobil? S communityjem. No, evo, o tem govorimo, ne? Se pravi, ta ciljna skupina ima medijsko potrošnjo čisto drugačno in jaz si želim, da bo Anže ali pa Žiga, pa vsi, ki jih followajo, da bojo prvi pralni stroj pri nas kupili. Ne, ni nujno, da bodo kupili najboljši gaming računalnik, ne? A veš, tako da mi to delamo predvsem kot nek kanal, da dosežemo zelo veliko ciljno skupino, ki je večinoma podjetja ne razumemo. Se pravi, mi kar mislimo, zdaj bomo šli pa na Instagram, pa bomo na Instagramu dobili tam mlade. You're wrong. Ni nujno, poplava vseh sporočil je taka. Moraš biti tam, kjer so, pa ne biti pameten, podpirati jih. Kolikrat ste mene videli, spet ni od dva, kolikrat sta mene videla na sestankih, da sem vam kaj težil? Nula, ne? Zaradi tega, ker mi smo tam, da jih podpiramo, ne da pametujemo, pa da vodimo. Se pravi, jaz se moram od njih učiti, pa uporabiti, ne pa obratno. In zaradi tega mi tukaj vidimo ta potencial, pa jaz mislim, da je dosti več kot teh ocenjenih 30 milijonov evrov, ker pol ima še belo tehniko, pa ima še slušalke zraven, pa telefon ima zraven in vse, kar mi prodajamo, ne? In to si mi želimo, da navežemo v bistvu stik s to ciljno skupino in ne gledamo samo gaminga tukaj.
Aleš, če nadaljujemo s to direktno povezavo, kaj pa ste vi opazili pri Mastercardu s tem plačevanju znotraj iger?
Mislim, to je ena zanimiva tema, ki pa je razumevanje te teme praktično enako kot v realnem svetu. Kolega Luka je enih 10 let nazaj, to je ta gospod, rekel, da pač človek se ne zbudi.
Taki čaka na kosilo, ne?
Ja, se ne zbudiš, pa razmišljaš, kako boš plačal. In pač to je nekaj, kar poskušamo v realnem svetu rešiti in raziskave govorijo, da je tudi v gamingu enak problem v bistvu, moramo rešiti. Tudi tam si pač, ko kupuješ in-game neke stvari, želiš, da je to čim bolj enostavno, varno, učinkovito in tu smo mi pa v bistvu naravno z svojim produktom v bistvu zraven in pomagamo. In tu recimo smo šli še korak dlje, ne? Lani smo skupaj z Microsoftom izdali Microsoft Xbox kartico, kjer recimo nakupi v realnem svetu ti dajo neke benefite ob nakupih ali pa točke ob nakupih na Xboxu. To je že recimo ena direktna poslovna povezava. Naprej smo lani najavili tudi Mastercard Exchange. V bistvu je vključenih, mislim, da 4000 različnih kartic, kjer tvoji nakupi, v bistvu benefiti tvojih nakupov v realnem svetu, dobivaš neke točke benefite, jih pretvarjaš neke točke benefite v gamingu.
Matjaž je že prej dal nasvet vsem ostalim, ki bi se morda odločili za aktivnosti v gamingu, torej da naj poskušajo razumeti to skupnost, ne? Aleš, še kakšen nasvet morda?
Ne, midva sva stara, pa boljše, da ne dajeva tu nasvetov sicer. Ne, mislim, ne smemo biti pametni realno in moramo poslušati pač tiste, ki so v tem communityju. Ampak po drugi strani še pač, katerokoli ciljno skupino probaš nagovarjati, enako ne smeš nagovarjati z istimi stvarmi. Enako velja pač za gaming. Treba se jim prilagoditi, govoriti v njihovem jeziku, jih podpirati in s časoma pač postati relevanten sogovornik za njih. In to je to.
Še eno morda podobno vprašanje, ne? Kot marketingarja, ki ste se vendarle malo spustila globje od ostalih v gaming. Za katero industrijo se vam zdi pa gaming najbolj primeren, če bi recimo delala ne vem kje, na pamet govorim o turizmu, ne vem čem, bi pa rekla, tja grem pa gotovo. S tem produktom grem pa še bolj v gaming, oziroma to je pa narejeno za to. Ste kdaj pomislila na to, da bi bil kakšen produkt pa posebej primeren?
Jaz mislim, da gamerji jejo, gamerji spijo, gamerji hodijo na WC, gamerji potujejo, se pravi, kaj načeloma ni primerno. A veš, dajmo se tako vprašati, da to pa na drugi strani ni nek bav, ne? Da bi rekel, zdaj pa moram biti čist drugačen. Ali pa to je samo drugačen način izbora, kako dosežeš ciljno skupino, ki pa je drugačen, ker drugače konzumirajo medije. Tako da jaz ne bi koga posebej izpostavil. Jaz mislim, da danes, ki se ne ukvarja s to ciljno skupino, je že v zadnji. Zaradi tega, ker jih ne bo znal potem kasneje nagovoriti, ne bo znal priti do te ciljne skupine, rabijo pa čisto vsak vse, pa verjetno tudi vsak kaj drugega. Tako da ne bi tukaj posploševal. Tako kot bi rekel, jaz hočem pralni stroj prvi, da kupijo pri meni. Zakaj pa ne?
Torej, pomemben je narativ, ne produkt. Se strinja, Aleš, bi se strinjali?
Drži. V bistvu jaz sem drugače rekel, ne? Ampak na nek način enako. Če imamo nekaj, kar rešuje njihove probleme, smo ta pravi. Ampak pač moramo se jim prilagoditi. Seveda ne bomo jim na isti način povedali, kot pač ne vem, ciljni skupini 50+, ki je na televiziji pa spremlja oglase. Za njih imamo pač drug nagovor, ampak pač imamo še vedno en relevanten produkt za njih. Enako velja tu. Moramo biti relevantni za njih, rešiti meni problem.
Kako pa vidva, ker se povsod najdejo seveda temne platine in gaming ni nič drugačen, kako vidva gledata na pasti igričarstva v smislu pretirano igranje? Kako gledate kot sponzorja in pa kako gledate kot odrasli osebi? Matjaž. No, pa Aleš najprej.
Dva različna pogleda. Doma sem vedno slabe volje, ko otrok predolgo gleda v ekran. Tako da. In pač treba je najti eno, bom rekel, tako od vseh drugih stvarih pametno pot med eno in drugo stranjo. Recimo, mi smo se pol leta nazaj pogovarjali z nekom o nekem gaming projektu in kaj smo hoteli dati je ravno to, da bi dodali nek educational del, zato da ne govorimo samo zdaj igraj, sem zmislil, nogomet, ampak da probamo še nekaj več dodati, ker se zavedamo, da pač tisti, ki imajo radi gaming, so pred ekrani veliko časa. Profesionalci praktično cele dneve, ker drugače ne morejo. Se pravi, če najdeš neko normalno pot med, rečemo, normalnim svetom in gamingom, nič narobe.
Lej, tako kot vse v življenju, ne? Tle je vse malo drugačna struktura, ko bo tamle gor, ne? Verjetno se vsi spomnite, koliko so včasih govorili, je rdeče meso. To moraš nujno, danes pravijo, da ga baje ne smeš preveč jesti. Govorili so, pi mleko, ki je vir kalcija, danes laktoza baje ni v redu. Je bil tle zelo previden, ne? So cikli v življenju in vsako pretiravanje škoduje, tako kot je rekel. Jaz se sploh ne bi spuščal, kaj je dober, kaj ne. Jaz mislim, da je e-šport in gaming, da je zelo zdrava industrija, da dodaja tem, ki se s tem ukvarjajo, neko novo širino, ki jo mogoče nekdo drugi ne dobi. Dokazano je tudi, da recimo neke taktične igre ti pomagajo tudi v poslovnem svetu, recimo pri reševanju težav. Zdaj, če to zdravo, normalno delaš ali pa če se s tem ukvarjaš, je v redu, ne? To je pa isto, kot ne vem, na koncu, če pač si lactose intolerant, pa se pač napiješ mleka, ti verjetno ni glih najbolj prijetno pa ljudem okoli tebe, ne? Takrat isto tukaj. Tako da, lej, ne bi pametoval, no, sem to bi rekel. Vsak ve zase, kaj dela in v življenju ni nekega splošnega pravila, zdaj, če boš pa to delo, bo pa vedno tako. Ne. Tako da jaz tukaj predvsem gledam pozitivno in mislim, da gaming in sama industrija daje danes ogromno prednosti tudi za realno življenje.
Še zadnje vprašanje, vajna najljubša igra?
To pa zdaj za Matjaža prvo, ne?
Mislim, jaz ne vem, jaz sem zelo velik fan Nintenda, tako da valjda Super Mario, World Rally Cup, Assassin's Creed, ne igram dosti.
Ti si že resen gamer?
Sem mislil včasih. Tako da take igre bolj, no, so mi všeč. Super Mario mi je pa itak še najboljši, tako da še toliko sem bil, pa se sem velik otrok. Ta prvič, ko je prišel Nintendo Switch OLED ven, ta prvega sem jaz dobil v Sloveniji, ker sem ga hotel imeti. Tako da mi ful pomeni, nisem pa na takem nivoju, kot fantje tam na zadnji polne, ki jih boste na odru gledali gor. Mi je pa užitek jih gledati. Jaz sem tip gamerja, ki tudi rad spremlja, kako igrajo, koliko so kakšni dobri, še posebej tisti, ki vidi, zdaj, ki je bil Road-to Game Gang show, ne, pa misliš, da si dobro v eni fifi, ne, pa se pa usede zraven enega, pa te 30-0 nabije, ne. Pa si reči, ok, you're nothing, ne, in te reality checki v lifeu so meni ful dobri.
Slab gamer. Ja. Jaz doma spremljam enega otroka, ko letalo vozi, drug otrok nekaj strela, pa nogomet igra. Tako da moj gaming se pa zaključi na iPadu, pa Football Manager, pa Civilization, star 6-7 let igrica. Tako da to je to. Jaz se učim od otrok, kaj sploh obstaja v resnici.
Super. Hvala lepa obema.
Hvala.
Hvala.
Ja, malce smo pohiteli, šibamo naprej, ob 12. se torej odprejo vrata, zato zdaj na oder vabim mojega kolego, Žan Tratar. Živijo, Žan. On je naš digitalni ekspert in ob njemu pa sta Anže Novak in pa Žiga Lah. Torej, Žan, predal ti bom mikrofon, pa kar izvoli.
Tila, najlepša hvala za predstavitev. Evo, tukaj smo se zdaj za zadnji trenutek zbrali, da poslušamo še Anžeta Novaka, Vorteksa, pa Žigata Laha, Skorpa. Nas boste na hitro popeljala malo v svet gaminga in kako se ustvarja same vsebine. Ok, mogoče za začetek, kakšni so bili vajni začetki oziroma povezave s samim gamingom?
Ja, tukaj bi lahko debatirali, pa mislim, da res nimamo dosti časa. Začel sem v bistvu že prvič, ko sem dobil računalnik, videl sem svojega očeta igrati, tako da takrat naprej mi je vedno ta igračarski svet me je vlekel noter, ampak bolj tiste igračarske zadeve pri meni so se razvile nekje, ko sem dobil prvi dober računalnik, to je bilo nekje v srednji šoli, nekje na sredini, ker ni bilo glih najbolj mogoče res, ker ocene posledično ne da so padle, ampak sam tisti fokus na šolo se je malo šel vsem prosmeril bolj na mogoče igrce, bomo te rekali. Ampak nič za to, meni so vedno doma govorili, lej, ti že veš, kaj delaš, verjamemo vate, dosti pameten. In tako je bilo, na koncu sem uspešno naredil šolo, protigral igrce in po srednji šoli, zdaj bo 4 leta, odkar sem začel z YouTubeom, sem se pač odločil še to. Res sem imel vedno uno željo, ker sem tudi jaz gledal streamerje, da bi še to poizkusil, ampak ali nisem imel dobrega interneta, ali nisem imel dobrega računalnika in šele pol, ker sem se preselil, nekaj po koncu srednje sem imel poboje. Sem rekel, zdaj pa moram probati. Tako da, tako.
Okay.
Ja, jaz sem pa v bistvu isto že zelo malo začel, ker je bil še Windows 98. Smo imeli na računalnik, tako da sem takrat prvič probal, ampak nisem pa nikoli bil prav gamer, ker sem igral košarko, sem 12 let igral, sem v bistvu NBA sem zelo veliko igral, tako da pred vsako tekmo, ko sem imel, sem šel eno partijo NBA-ja, tako da sem se tako nekako moj ritual. Ja. Pol, ko sem pa mačkan padel, mogoče proti koncu srednje izven športa mačkan, sem pa začel pol bolj gamat, pa sem se tudi najdel malo bolj v tem svetu.
Ok, super. Kako ste pa potem iz tega prišla v ustvarjanje samih vsebin? Kdaj se je to začelo?
Tako sem rekel, pri meni zdaj približno 4 leta nazaj, se pravi, če je to po moje, ki začel pravilno malo pred korono, nekaj tazga oziroma v času korone, mogoče malo pred tem, In v bistvu ne bi mogel zbrati boljšega trenutka, ker takrat res so bili vsi doma in če se ne motim, je bila to ena izmed najhitrejših rastov v Sloveniji. Spomnim se trenutka, ko je bilo gledane po 1000 subscriberjev na dan novih in sem bil wow, ok, to je res to, kar moram narediti in zdaj izkoristiti. Res je bilo, da nekako nisem mogel več, se pravi, delal sem na Telekomu, nisem mogel več, ker na Telekomu je bilo res velik dela, ker je bilo treba se zrihtati in sem rekel, zdaj se moram podločiti, ali bom šel na to pot, ali bom pa nekaj na pol ne moreš tega delati. Moraš pač dejansko se, bi rekel, komitati neke zadeve oziroma predati in sem rekel, dej, cel življenje se bom sekiral, če nam tega naredil, bom probal in zdaj smo kle.
Super.
Ja, jaz sem pa dosti delal te montaže, se pravi iz gaminga, iz mojih klipov sem probal narediti kakšne dobre videe, pa sem hotel biti video editor, pa sem šel v bistvu delati takrat, vem, za 3 mesece, da sem si zaslužil za računalnik in sem hotel začeti editati videe in v bistvu sem editil za enega youtuberja, ker sem ga pol vprašal, če lahko probam za foro zraven v slovenščini streamati, ker nisem vedel, da v slovenščini sploh obstajajo streamerji. In prvi stream, ki sem prižgal, sem zaradi njega imel tudi takoj 30 gledalcev in od takrat naprej, zdaj že 5 let streamam, tako da lik zdaj enkrat je obletnica.
Vrhunsko, no danes pa tukaj na odru. No zdaj ta razvoj vajnih številk od nekako korone je pripeljalo do tega, da sta začela sodelovati z blagovnimi znamkami. Kako vidite zdaj skozi ta čas, kako se je ta industrija spreminjala?
Ja, začetki sami, mislim, oba, da so začela, sploh ne po moje zmislijo na to, da bi sodelovala s kakršnemkoli začetku, vsaj znamkami karkoli, ampak so do naju pristopili vsaj do mene, določene znamke oziroma določeni, bomo rekli temu, produkt pusherji, da so nam z namenom za to, da bi sodelovali, ponudili produkte. In meni se je to na začetku zdelo, wow, ja, seveda, zastonj produkt, vsak ti dajo zastonj vzem, ampak sem imel na to srečo, da na začetku sem že poznal določene ljudi iz te industrije, to se pravi direktorja Uvija, s katerim sodelujem zdaj že vsa leta, je rekel, ne, umir se malo, počakaj, ne moreš biti oglasna deska za vse, oziroma da vzamaš vsako stvar, ker potem zgubiš na tisti, ko bi rekel, da ti ljudje zaupajo, se pravi, da si legitimen. In sem rekel, ok, v redu, bom počakal, sem zavrnil, prvi del mi je bilo zelo, prav spomnim se ga, zelo mi je bilo hudo za neke slušalke hude, na koncu, hvala Bogu, da jih nisem vzel, zdaj, ko gledam za nazaj, ampak vsem, hotel sem jih vzeti, ampak je bilo v redu. In zdaj, čez čas se mi zdi, da ta mentaliteta se tudi iz naše strani naprej do samih sponzorjev oziroma do podjetij pretvarja, da nekako ne moreš živeti od produktov, tudi mi, da mora plačevati račune in tudi podjetja to razumejo in se razvijajo vse skupaj v tej smeri, da pridejo podjetja do naju in naj jo kontaktirajo in ponudijo nekaj mogoče oziroma okvirne vsote, pa se potem dogovorimo.
Okay. Kaj pa je za vaju dobro sodelovanje oziroma kakšnih ne sprejemate skorb?
Zdaj v bistvu dobro sodelovanje je vse v zvezi s čemer pač predstavlja naju. Se pravi, jaz recimo moje življenje vidim pač kot igranje iger in pa šport oziroma košarka. Tako da, če je karkoli povezan s tem, z veseljem vzamem. Zdaj pač videoigre recimo lahko tudi pride zraven, valjda kakšen snack, prehrane pa to. Če pa kaj res izven, ne vem, zdaj to je malo ekstremno, ampak recimo, da bi dobila ponudbo za make-up, pač verjetno ne bo dober in za najin imidž, da bi vzela in pač nima smisla. Tako da malo gledava v bistvu, kaj se pač nama splača, pa kaj je dobro za najin imidž in pa tudi za gledalce, kaj bi dejansko rad predlagal. Ker recimo tudi, če se mogoče je bilo že včasih, da se ne strinjam s kakšnim produktom, sem pač mogel to zavrniti, ker se mi zdi, da ne želim prodajati tega produkta svojim gledalcem, ker v bistvu zaradi njih pač je to moja služba. Tako da to.
Ja, verjetno bi tudi veliko težje prodal to stvar, če v njo ne verjameš oziroma ne uporabljaš.
To je tudi res, ampak se mi zdi, da danes je tudi dosti takih ljudi, ki znajo zelo dobro prodajati tudi nekaj, kar mogoče oni mislijo, da je slabo. Ampak mi da z Vortexom dejansko se mi zdi, da smo oba dosti poštena in probava res delati na temu, da imava fanbase, ki nama zelo zaupa in pač, da so tudi mi dopoštena do njih.
Ok, zdaj mogoče na drugi strani tudi iz vsebinskega vidika. Zdaj lansko leto je gambling postal zelo popularen za streama, zdaj ne vem, Vortex, vidva to že uporabljata.
Zdaj tako je, vedno ima vsako ozadje v glavi, če pa to sprejmem, potem bom dal pa to gnajra, da si lahko kupil vse, pa tudi če ne delam še naslednjih nekaj let. Po mojem sem imela oba, da to mislim, ampak istočasno meni prva stvar, ki je, toliko časa sem delal na zaupanju vseh ljudi, se pravi, oziroma tudi sponzorje in otrok, ki mi zaupajo na slepo, zdaj bom pa jaz njim ponujal nek gambling na koncu, da bojo oni zapravili denar, ga zgubili posledično, ker, let's be honest, na gamblingu večinoma zgubiš in bojo zapravili ti denar, ker sem jim ga jaz rekel, pejte, saj, ker se glih na to navezujemo, ne pri meni, mogoče pri drugih streamerjih oziroma drugih, ki to delajo. Je bil primer, ko mi je nekdo pisal na sporočila, če lahko dobi nazaj tistih 20 evrov recimo donacije, ki mi je dal, ker jih rab. In jaz sem bil ok, po moje vem, kam postati so moli, da mi povej, zakaj rabiš. Je rekel, stari, za gamblo sem vse, rabim denar, da naprej gamblam. Sem rekel, ne dam ti ni šanse, ne dam ti 20 evrov nazaj, zaradi tega, ker bo še teh 20 za gamblo in se to samo nadaljuje in je nek začaran krog. In nažalost, to je ena izmed hujših oblik, bomo rekli temu drog, ko si zasvojen s tako stvarjo, ampak le dejansko zgubljaš velike lahko količine denarja. In jaz sem rekel, ni šanse, ponujali, bada so po moje dobila kar lepe ponudbe za sam sodelovanje s kazinoji, ampak ne, hvala, res, ne bom tega delal.
Ok, zdaj pa pridemo malo bolj v kreacijo vsebin. Zdaj, katera socialna mreža uporabljata, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, in kako se po vajnem mnenju le-ta razlikujejo med seboj?
Jaz zdaj, glede na to, da mora biti vsem, ki sva noter, če hočejo biti najboljša, sva dejansko na vseh omrežjih, kar se le da, se pravi, sva in na TikToku, in na Instagramu, in na YouTubu, ampak le en pomemben, ko bi rekel, prelomnica v sami zgodovini in temu rekel TikTok. TikTok je spremenil sam način, bomo rekli, kreiranja vsebine na res tisto, čist nekaj novega, kar niso bili navajeni. Prej so bile vse aplikacije tako unikatne, Instagram za slike, YouTube za videe, TikTok pa za, ko je prišel na začetku za res une kratke vsebine, mogoče iz vsake ven. Ampak potem je pa ta prelomnica, neka era, ko je v bistvu sama mladina, ker je TikTok hitrejši, ker nimajo časa, ker je vse tako hiter svet res naprej, je TikTok lažji, ker poskrolaš po tistih kratkih 30 do minutnih videih, vidiš vse, kar bi mogoče videl v enem 10-minutnem videu. In se je ful hitro zaradi tega med samim, bom rekel, ljudmi oziroma uporabniki razširil in temu so tudi sledila ostala omrežja, se pravi in Instagram in YouTube so uvedli, se pravi Reelse in pa Shortse, kar pomeni, da enostavno smo prišli iz tistega res quality contenta, dolgih videov, mogoče 20 minut, ko je res veliko truda na koncu na kratke 30 sekunde do minutne videe, ki jih pa na koncu porivajo od TikToka do Shortsov, do Instagrama, posod vidiš na koncu skoraj isto objavo, ker pač porinejo na vsa omrežja. In ja, zgublja se tista kvalitetna vsebina, bom rekel. Se ne pravim, da kratki videi tisti niso kvalitetni, ampak so pa res veliko lažji za narediti, pa ne zahtevajo toliko truda, mogoče pa tudi na koncu rezultati niso taki, kot bi bili pa mogoče na nekem daljšem, res kvalitetnem videu.
Mislim, jaz bi tle sam dodal, da v bistvu kratki videi mogoče dobijo veliko gledov, ker tako algoritem deluje, ampak recimo na TikToku bi jaz rekel, če ti dobiš 20,000 ogledov, se mi zdi, da so manj vredni, kot na YouTubeu 3,000. Zaradi tega, ker tudi imaš fanbase, vsaj z najne strani na YouTubeu čist drugačen, imaš ljudi, ki te pač res spremljajo, pa pogledajo vse tudi daljše vsebine, gledajo pač za tebe, medtem, ko na TikToku ti, ki scrollaš, ne gledaš lih TikTok vsebin za content creatorja, ampak zato ti pač vidiš content, in dostikrat ljudje sploh ne grejo pol na profil tvoj, pa gledati naprej, pa TikToki se zgubijo, medtem, ko tvoji YouTube kanali ljudje bojo vedno za nazaj gledali.
Pa to gledaj, što je, ko swipeneš naprej, tudi če te ne zanima.
Ja, seveda, gledaš pa, koliko je unique userov. No, zdaj, ko ste v bistvu nekako itak že naredili vodno, se pravi, je stream podcenjen?
Definitivno. Mi dva sva konstantno tam, v bistvu, če gledava, koliko streamava, 4 do 5 ur na dan, sigurno, oziroma odvisno, ampak ti si 4 do 5 ur na dan skozi, se pravi, prisoten tam z ljudmi, recimo, če gledamo iz strani sponzorjev oziroma tisti, ki jih imava, to se skozi tam odvija in jaz vedno pravim, najboljši marketing je tisti, ki gre v podzavest na koncu uporabniku, se pravi, da ne da mu ga ti silaš, da mu ga vsiljuješ, ampak da je dejansko prisoten, ga probaš integrirati v samo vsebino in stream je to najlažje. Res je pa podcenjen, ker nobeden, mogoče se vam zdi 100 gledalcev, 200, da ni veliko, verjemte, tistih 100-200 gledalcev na koncu lahko veliko bolj ključnih pri nakupu oziroma prodaji, kakor pa 20,000 ogledov na TikToku. Tako da iz tega vidika pravim, da se mi zdi, da je stream res podcenjen.
Mogoče, če lahko klele sam dodam še to, prele smo poslušali Šaja, je glih omenil, da je eden od blagovnih znamk, s katerimi so sodelovali, konstantno vsebina bila vezana na push, kupi, prodaj. Kako v bistvu vidva nekako vajnim brandom svetujeta, da sodelujejo z vami, oziroma na kakšen način umestita noter brand?
Zdaj tako, mislim, kot je že zdaj govoril za streamanje, jaz vedno predlagam streame, ker kot prvo je to pač tudi nekaj, kar najbolj predstavlja. In kot je rekel, na streamu pač se skozi recimo nekaj vrti, pa konc koncev, sploh če je produkt, ki ga uporabljava vmes, ki streama, se mi zdi, da je še najbolj vreden. Recimo, jaz dobim ogromno vprašanj na streamih, kjer od konca uporabljaš slušalke in tako naprej. In pač že sam s tem, ker jaz rečem, to uporabljam, grejo ljudje pogledat, pa bi pač radi tudi oni to uporabljali, ker pač hoče imeti podoben setup kot ti. Tako da jaz tukaj full streamanje podpiram, ampak se mi zdi, da veliko brandov, vsaj v Sloveniji, zaenkrat želijo, imamo ta produkt, naredi video, predstav to in to. Vse to je v redu, mi je čisto cool, sploh če je za produkt, ki ga zagovarjam, ampak se mi zdi, da na streamih je nasplošno malo drugačno. Tudi ljudje, ki gledajo tvoje streame, so dejansko vsak dan na streamu, po vsaj 2 uri, se mi zdi, da je kar veliko ljudi, no, in kot je on rekel, se dela na brandingu. No. Jaz mislim, da ne sme se pušati pri nas toliko, da se gleda, koliko sva midva dejansko prodala produktov, ampak se gre na branding v tem smislu, recimo nekdo ima svoj stol, se mu zlom stol in je pol tako, aha, v mislih ima pol neko firmo, in gre pol to firmo pogledati. Ni zdaj to, da gre on takoj kupiti, zato ker je ni videl pri nama, ampak ima v samozavesti te produkte, ki je slišal na najnih streamih velikrat.
Samo še nekaj. Tako sem rekel že prej, pač usiljen marketing je najslabši, se pravi, hitro se glih obratno obrne, ne da ti nekaj promoviraš, ampak slabo promoviraš oziroma se lahko na koncu uporabnikov zagnus. Tako sem rekel, moraš integrirati sam marketing nekako podzavest uporabnikov in če gledava dolge streame, kot so mogoče 2-3 uri, na koncu če gledamo šolo, tudi v šoli 2-3 ure sedijo pa ponavljajo eno isto snov in se potem prije noter isto za knjigam sosedaš, ponavljaš, sam da tukaj ne ponavljajo oni, ampak mi da ponavljava sam oziroma tem nek marketing, kako karkoli bi rekel.
Ok. Kakšna je pa razlika s content creatorji iz drugih področji? Vi da sta fokusirana na gaming, če gledate čisto generalno v Sloveniji?
Mislim, zdaj težko je povedati prav razliko, vsi pač ustvarjamo nek content, ki je nam všeč, in je pač razlika edino to, v kakšni branži smo. Tako da mislim, da načeloma ni neke razlike, tako. V smislu s tem razen pač streamanje je tista glavna stvar, ki se mi zdi, da je največja razlika med nami gamerji kot streamerji, med ostalimi content creatorji, ki delajo samo videe in tako naprej.
Jaz mislim še eno razliko izpostavil. Meni se zdi, da je velika razlika med samim obnašanjem in tega, tudi recimo family friendly, če lahko temu rečemo. Imamo nekatere kreatorje, ki so res, lahko rečemo temu, vulgarni in jaz si ne predstavljam, če bi bil starš, da bi svojega otroka pustil take stvari gledati na koncu, da nekdo tam kovne na polno, da preklinja vse, da razbija stvari, pa to zdaj na nobenega ne leti. Ampak sam osebno, če se postavimo svojo vlogo, probam biti čim bolj tak, da bi se staršem, oziroma če bi bil jaz starš, da bi rekel, ok, v redu, to lahko gledaš. To je taka razlika, ki mislim, da je zelo, mi dva sva taka.
Ok. Se kdaj primerjate kaj s tujino? Team The Tatman, Ninja.
Mislim, drugače Ninja, ja.
Ninja, pardon.
Okay, ja, ne. V bistvu primerjati se je težko, ker angleški market je drugače, sem dostkrat hotel gledati, recimo angleški market, kjer igre so popularne, da bi jih jaz streamal, ampak žal to ne pali na Slovenijo, zato ker večina Slovencev, ki naj gleda, so še mlada generacija, se pravi 20, pod 20, medtem, ker določene igre gledajo ful starejši in te starejši Slovenci ne gledajo nas, ampak gledajo angleške content creatorje, tako da je težko najti tukaj primerjavo. Sem pa definitivno že pogledal pač veliko content creatorjev, pa sem bil tako, to se mi zdi ful lepo profesionalno, bom jaz probal tudi nekaj na ta način narediti. Pa recimo za Fortnite sem se primerjal Cypher PK, ki je eden izmed najbolj znanih tam, da sem videl, kakšen content on dela, sem videl, ok, mogoče bi jaz lahko to tukaj upelo. Team The Tatman je pač zelo smešen, probaš mogoče, ok, vidiš, da recimo Team The Tatman je čist druga vrsta, on ni toliko dober v igrah, ampak je zelo zabaven za gledati. Tako da probaš pol malo videti, kje lahko ti, kaj pobereš od vsega malo, da probaš narediti nekaj svojega.
Ok.
Šel sem, si unikaten, to je najbolj važno, da si unikaten. Pobere ideje, mislim reči.
Evo, gremo proti koncu, mogoče samo še 3 vprašanja. Prvo, kako vidite vidva razliko med e-športom in tradicionalnimi športi, predvsem ti Skorp, si bil v športu 12 let profesionalno?
Mislim, zdaj razlika je definitivno v fizičnem delu, ampak se tudi zdaj čez dalje bolj razvija, da so dejansko tudi e-športniki imajo v pogodbah, da morajo nekaj zase delati, v fitness hoditi in tako naprej, ker konec koncev pač fizična pripravljenost je dosti povezana z mentalnostjo, koliko si ti lahko pol pripravljena, vzeti pač te različne strese tudi v e-športu. Tako da e-šport pa šport se mi zdi, da sta si v bistvu dosti bolj podobna, kot ljudje mislijo. Sploh pač mentalno, vsi imajo te mentalne coache, ki jim pomagajo, da so pripravljeni za recimo finale in take stvari, kako pod stresom reagirati. Tako se mi zdi, da je dosti bolj podobno, edino fizično in mačken manj, mislim dosti manj, ampak konec koncev se vsi trudijo, da bojo najboljši.
Ok. Vortak, zate, kaj je za vaju, no? Odgovorno igranje in kako kombinirati šolo in igrice? Malo za starše.
Tukaj ste ta prav dobili, zato ker jaz sem bil, kot sem rekel, že prej v tistem delu, ko računalnik prišel na polno igrice, nekaj novega, wow, valjda posvetiš caj temu, ne. Istočasno imaš na drugi strani šolo, je pa tudi wow, ocene. Tako da si polno, ok, neka moja mora biti vmes. Pri meni je šlo res v ekstrem, se pravi, da je bilo kleke, so igrice in je v šola čistem, ampak potem, ko se je šola malo še bolj oddalila, sem rekel, kam greš, pa sem prišel malo bliže spet, kaj je klej zdaj tisto, kar moraš ti najdeti pri sebi, nek ravnovesje, se pravi, zdaj klej je veliko na starših. Sicer pri meni, kot sem rekel, pri meni ni bilo nobenih problemov. Pri meni so rekli, da si pameten, že veš, kaj delaš. Dobro veš, če to naš v redu, boš mogel kasneje vse to narediti, pa še več za nazaj in sem bil vedno ok, v redu. Ampak veliko mladine pa v današnjih časih se mi zdi, da mogoče niso tako samostojni po razmišljanju, pa rabijo neko vodstvo staršev in ja, jaz vedno poudarjam na svojih stremih, a ste naredili vse za šolo, imate kaj za šolo, pa eni pišejo, jaz bi mogel se učiti, pa raj tebe gledam, pa prosim, za stream lahko za nazaj pogledaš. Ok, ni ista interakcija, ampak vsem za nazaj pogledaš. Šola te ne bo počakala, šola gre, stream bo počakal. In tukaj se mi zdi, da mogoče starši ne grejo v tisti ekstrem, da čist prepovejo se, ker to na koncu se lahko še slabše obrne pri samem otroku. Ne, da pa jaz seveda iz lastnih izkušenj še nimam te sreče, ampak razmišljam tako, kakor vidim pri mladini, ko se pogovarjam z njimi. Neka moja mora biti, se pravi starši, da nekaj dovolijo, v primeru, da so stvari zrihtane, če se stvari poslabšajo, če otrok sam ne spremeni, se pravi izboljša ocen, ja, se malo bolj zaostri, pa prepovejo. Ampak ja, šola je prva, definitivno. Šola je tista varnost, ko te bo nekaj pripeljala. Igrice, imaš lahko, mislim, glede na to, kako v današnjem času živijo nekateri od igric, bi rekel, wow, se bom tudi jaz, ampak to so zelo male verjetnosti, da ti uspe, no. Tako da šola najprej, tista varnost.
Ok. Evo, pred zadnjim vprašanjem, kakšno vprašanje iz publike, mogoče za Anžeta Žigata?
Se ne gre za vas.
Okay. No, potem pa evo, čez nekaj minut se odpirajo vrata Gang šova, kjer sta v vlogi ambasadorjev. Kaj pričakujete od letošnjega dogodka za zadnje vprašanje?
Ja, lansko leto je bilo prvič, je bilo tisto, kako bi rekel, ker smo se, veliko je bilo napak, bodimo iskreni, veliko stvari se je dali izboljšati, ker je ful dober, ker če se daje ful stvari izboljšati, to pomeni, da lahko naslednje leto vse popraviš. In letos pričakujem, da so se vse, kakor sem videl, vse te napake, oziroma večino se jih je odpravili. In tudi sama postavitev v primerjavi z lanskim letom je meni res top. In tudi stvari, ki jih vidim na programu, so mi res top. In mislim, da vsak let, ko se bo to nadaljevalo, da bo vsako let boljšno. Tako da jaz imam res velika pričakovanja za letos.
Mislim, jaz sem pa tudi, mačkan sem bil zdaj že mal, kako bi rekel, burnoutan od vsega tega, ki smo to tako promovirali, da se mačkan nisem veselil, sem bil tako mal, kaj če ne bo dobro, ne. Pa sem bil pa včeraj tukaj, ko sem videl postavitev, pa sem bil tako, wow, to je dejansko 5-krat boljše kot lansko leto, ne. In tisto je bilo tako, res komaj čakam, da pridem sem. In sem vesel, da pač gre naprej, sem vesel, da tudi se naju malo posluša, ker sva dala predloge, ki sva bila recimo na Dreamhacku, ki je to v bistvu eden izmed največjih teh gaming dogodkov v Evropi. In se mi zdi, da se tudi te stvari so se dejansko nekatere implementirale in se to tudi pozna, tako da jaz mislim, da bo res super.
Če bojo pa napake, se bojo pa naslednje let popravile.
Točno tako. Evo, najlepša hvala.
Super, hvala, bilo je res fino vas poslušati. Hvala vsem, ki ste prišli, pa seveda se vidimo na naslednjem dogodku pred sportom, Road-to SPORTO, in sicer 24. maja v Rogu, ko bomo govorili o trajnosti, športu in pa kreativnosti. In pa ne pozabite, 21. 22. november, 20. SPORTO v Portorožu.